Let's take a look at this easy logic puzzles question. Now, we're told some information. Emma, Liam, Sophia, and Noah are a gardener, a florist, a botanist, and a landscape architect, not necessarily in that order. And they each specialize in a different type of flower. Well, I don't really care about the names. I don't really care about their jobs. Let's put it into just simple letters. So E, L, S, N, G, F, B. And instead of L for landscape architect, I'm just going to put an A because otherwise we're repeating letters. And then we're told information. Emma specializes in tulips. Now we can represent this slightly differently. I could represent this as E equals T. Liam specializes in roses, so L equals R. Noah specializes in lilies, so N equals L. I'll put Li for lilies. And we don't know what Sophia specializes in. We're also told that the person who specializes in daisies is not the landscape architect. So we've got a fourth type of flower, and they are not the landscape architect. So remember to look really carefully for those negatives. So they are the florist, the botanist, or the gardener. Now, we're also told that the gardener always plants roses in their garden every spring, which means that the roses, which is Liam, must be the gardener. So the person who plants the daisies is not the gardener. And that's all the information we have, really. We need to try and then deduce some stuff from this. So which one of the following must be true? Some of these options may be true, we just don't have enough information. Let's take a look at them. A, Noah is the gardener. We know that that is false. Liam is the gardener. B, Sophia specializes in daisies. This must be true. Sophia is the only person left, and the only flower or plant that doesn't have a person associated with it is Sophia. So B is our correct answer. Now, in the real UCAT, you can just move straight on to the next question. Only one of the options is going to be correct, so you can just move on. Let's have a look at C and D and explain why they are false, though. C, Liam is the botanist. Again, we can quite clearly see that is false. He is the gardener. And then D, Emma is not the landscape architect. So that could mean that Emma is the florist, the botanist, or the gardener. What we can see, though, is that Emma could be the florist or the botanist. We don't know whether Emma is the florist or the botanist. From this, we can work out that Noah is the landscape architect if D is true, but we still don't know what Emma is. And that's why this one isn't a must be true statement, it's a could be true. Let's have a look at this medium level difficulty logical puzzles question. Every year, each class at Appleton School has a photograph taken. 8 students sit in the back row. Immediately, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and represent this information kind of as a diagram. So I'm going to draw 8 quick boxes, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'm even going to number them as well, because that might help me later on. We're told that Amy sits 5th from the left with Oscar and Penelope on either side. So the first thing I'm going to look for in a question like this is a kind of concrete piece of information where there's no variability, there's no alternatives to it. Amy sits 5th from the left. That is definite, which means that Amy is going to be here. With Oscar and Penelope on either side, now we don't know whether Oscar is on the left or on the right, same with Penelope. So I'm going to put O/P here and O/P. Riley sits as far away from Oscar as possible. Well, the problem is, if Oscar is in seat 4, that would put Riley in seat 8. But if Oscar is in seat 6, that would put Riley in seat 1. Sally sits next to Penelope. Well, again, that depends on which way around Oscar and Penelope are. So that could put Sally here, or it could put Sally here. Ethan does not sit next to Oscar or Sally. So there's now quite a few places that Ethan could sit. And William sits 3 seats away from Amy. So William could be on Amy's left, or William could be on Amy's right. We don't know. So what I now need to do is I now need to kind of choose one. We can look at our options. Which of the following statements is true? Ethan sits at the far left of the row. Sally sits next to Oscar. We know that Sally is always going to be sitting next to Penelope, in which case she will not be next to Oscar. So we can rule out B. William sits next to Penelope. We can see that at no point is William going to be next to Penelope, so we can rule out C. And Tom sits at the far right of the row. Well, we haven't even thought about Tom, so we've got an 8th person to add into this. Tom could potentially go at number 1, perhaps. Let's choose and let's work through an example. So let's put Oscar on Amy's left. That means Penelope is on Amy's right, which means Sally is next to Penelope and Riley is next to Sally. This means William is in seat number 2. We know that Ethan does not sit next to Oscar, so Ethan cannot go in position number 3, which means that Ethan must go in position number 1, which then leaves Tom to go in position number 3. Let's try the other way around. Let's put Penelope on Amy's right. Then that puts Oscar in position number 6, Sally in position number 3, Riley in position number 1. This puts William in position so William could go in position number 8 or in position number 2 still. So if William goes here, perhaps, that then leaves Ethan. Ethan would have to go on the far right, and that would then put Tom in position number 7. So at no point is Tom on the far right of the row. And although there is a possible solution whereby Ethan sits on the far right, that's not an option that we've been given. We have been given the option of Ethan on the far left, which does hold true. So A is our correct answer. Now, there's quite a lot of process of elimination there, or quite a lot of working that we have to do. But very quickly, we ruled out B and C as not being possible options. And most of the time, the logic puzzles questions, there is a way that you can quickly remove 2 of the options, and that then leaves you with a 50-50. So if you're running out of time, look for the options that you can remove quickly. That then gives you a 50-50. Guess it, flag, move on. And then if you do have a bit more time at the end, you can come back to it to try and be more conclusive in your answer. Let's take a look at this hard logic puzzles question. At least it looks hard on the surface. I feed my fish daily. Cara and Pebble are fed together. I'm going to summarize this as letters. So C equals P. I feed Bubbles in the afternoon. B equals A. Goldie is the only fish I'd feed twice a day. So that means that Goldie is equal to something and something else. Splash is always fed at the same time as another fish. So splash, S is equal to C and P, or B or G. There's a lot going on here. Which of the following must be true? And I'm going to underline this word must because it's going to become quite important. Now, we might sit here really spending time trying to work out how all of these things could possibly be linked together. The trick is in the question, though. The question hasn't given us enough information in order to be able to do that. What the question has asked us is which must be true. So A, Bubbles is fed at the same time as Splash. Could be, I don't know. B, Bubbles is fed more than twice a day. So we know that Bubbles is fed in the afternoon, and we know that Goldie is the only fish that is fed twice a day. So we can rule out B very quickly. I'm going to skip C for a second. Let's look at D. D, each day I have to feed my fish at least 6 times. Now I might spend quite a long time trying to work this out. Well, if Bubbles is fed in the afternoon and Cara and Pebble are fed together, then Goldie is the only fish that is fed twice a day, and Splash is always fed at the same time as another fish. That means that we could have the fish, and maybe the minimum is 3 times perhaps, or maybe it's 4 times. I'm going to spend quite a long time trying to work all that out. When actually in reality, if I look at C, I have at least 5 pet fish. Cara, Pebble, Bubbles, Goldie, Splash. 5 names. There could be more, we don't know, but the question says at least 5. So C is definitely true. So it doesn't matter. I don't need to do this kind of working out or try and work out how many times the fish are fed each day. I can find the absolutely true point in the answer. Not all questions are like this, but there are some that on the surface look very, very difficult, but in reality, there is a quick, easy way to answer the question.